Welcome back. This time we're going to talk about the most highly recommended backpacking headlamp of the last several years. It's from Nitecore. They call it the NU25. As you can see, I like to talk about this light separate from the elastic strap. This strap is actually pretty well designed. It's got a little grippiness on the back, like a little bead of silicone to keep it from sliding around on your head. It spreads the force, the clamping force that holds the light to your head pretty evenly to make it much more comfortable. But this light has been adopted by ultralight backpackers, and this is not really an ultralight head strap. That's why when I carried this, I actually used a much thinner, stretchy strap to hold it in place because I was more worried about weight than comfort. I don't use my headlamp much when I backpack, so I use as little as possible, which is good when you're using a light with a built-in rechargeable battery. So let's do a tour of the light real quick. You can see on the headlamp, when it's mounted to your head, a nice curved surface here, so it's comfortable when it sits up against your forehead. You can point it not all the way down 90 degrees, but you can point straight ahead. You can point down where you're walking a little bit better. That's very useful. On the bottom, we have the micro USB charging port. Here is what happens when you plug that in. You see the little red light indicating that it is charging. Let's unplug that. We've got a couple different lights in front here. This one is your focus beam. This side is where the red and the diffused beam come from. And then on top we have a power button and an R, which we'll call the red button. So let's see what happens when we push them. First, let me show you a little trick. If you press and hold both and watch, did you see the little blink? Now what happens? It just blinks. The light doesn't come on. When you're carrying a light in your backpack or in your carry-on bag, in your luggage to get to someplace for an adventure, if it gets bumped, you can run the battery dead. Now, especially for a rechargeable headlamp, you can't take the cover off and replace the battery. So if you pull this out of your backpack on the trail and you push a button and nothing happens because your battery is dead, you have to plug it in to recharge it. You can't just pull the battery and put a new battery. So that makes a lockout feature very important. So I'm going to press and hold. Boom, now the light is back on and the switch works just like it should. So that is a critical feature for a backpacking headlamp, in my opinion, any kind of lamp that you're going to travel with. So let's go through the different modes. First, if we push the regular light button, 1 starts in the low mode, 2 gets brighter, 3 is even brighter. Let's turn that off. Now if we push the red, we get that top one is the red that comes on low. If you press it fast enough, we get a low and a high, an off, and an SOS mode. That's pretty cool. So let's press and hold on the other side. Now we get the diffused light mode on bottom. All right, so if you want your spotlight, low, medium, high, off, press and hold, you get your diffused light. This is what I use most often when I'm backpacking, like in the tent, around the tent. If I am doing work in the campsite, maybe I've got it in the low mode for close in. I turn it up if I'm hiking. If I really need to see, like I'm throwing a rope for a bear bag over a tree, I really need to see out a ways, I'm going to put it in the high mode. So those are the different modes for the NU25. One of the neat things about this, unlike some lights, you get in the rechargeable headlamp and rechargeable EDC flashlight space, you often run into a light that won't do this. You see the lights on, which means it's charging. The little red indicator shows it's charging. It still works. It will work while plugged in and charging. So if you're on the trail and you run your battery dead, you can plug it into a USB power source and use it while it's charging. This is a huge deal for a backpacking headlamp. Almost 2 ounces, 1.93 ounces with the really big strap attached to it. Without the strap, we're right at an even 1 ounce on the dot. You can see we're looking at almost 55 millimeters wide.